Sebastien Le Toux returns to Philadelphia, the re-entry draft kicks off, and a preview of the NCAA College Cup coming up on The Daily. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Daily here with Andrew Wiebe. I'm Nick Fershaw, starting off with the big news for the Philadelphia Union fans. Looks like they're going to get one of their heroes back. Sebastien Le Toux has been traded from the New York Red Bulls to the Philadelphia Union for Josue Martinez and allocation money. That came down on Thursday afternoon. This is a long saga for Sebastien Le Toux. It's been a long 2012. A couple different teams, and now he's headed back to the Philadelphia Union. He tweeted out about how excited he was. Now the question, can he reproduce those numbers that he did before next year?
Well, this is always where he wanted to be. So they always talk about that comfort zone for players. Do they feel appreciated? Do they have the confidence in their new surroundings? Well, these won't be new surroundings, but I think he's going to have all that. You look at what he did in 2010 and 2011 with the Union. He was not just a goal scorer. Both seasons nearly hitting double digits assists, hitting those in 2010. Now he's got Jack McInerney, a little bit more firepower around him, a young team. He can come in there, be a leader, see if he can get them back to the playoffs. All in all, a win-win situation for Sebastien Le Toux. In the end, he gets what he wants.
What a year for this guy who we go all the way back to earlier this year, and there was talk that he was headed to Bolton, ended up with the Whitecaps, got traded from Vancouver to the New York Red Bulls, and now back to the Philadelphia Union. There's going to be a lot of comments about that on The Daily on YouTube. We got a lot of comments the other day about the news that Thierry Henry could be headed to Arsenal for an extended loan. This one from B. Charles 90 said, absolutely disagree. Henry staying at Arsenal until May is a great plan because when he returns, he'll be incredibly sharp after playing in the toughest league in the world. Red Bulls would have a player in much better shape. We've seen that before where some of the older players struggled to get fit earlier in the season. Thierry Henry's played well in the beginning of seasons before, but what about staying longer with Arsenal then coming back in May?
Now, I can't say I agree with this one. For all the talk about being fit, you're discounting the possibility of injury. And when you're Thierry Henry, you're going on in age here. You're going to play in the most intense league in the world where they're not going to cut you any slack. There's not going to be any favors given because you're Thierry Henry. I think if you're the Red Bulls, he's your captain. You want him dedicated to your cause, and having him in London through May is not the way to get that done.
Well, let us know what you think about Thierry Henry or Sebastien Le Toux in the comments below. Next up, the first stage of the MLS Re-Entry Draft. That's on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can catch all the latest news on MLSsoccer.com. Some talented players in the first stage here. Some guys that people are going to know around the league. Kevin Hartman, Julian de Guzman, Marvell Wynn, just some of them. Plus Danny Califf. We talked about the Union. You think the Union are going to go back and get Danny Califf now?
Well, I don't think they'll do this in this first round. I think what we'll see in re-entry stage 1 is not a lot, to be honest. You have to get these guys back at their option contract years or at pretty much equal to what they made in 2012. That's not going to be what most of these teams are in it for. So I think we'll see some young guys go. Maybe your Joseph Nanes, guys that have potential. Perhaps Stephen Keel. We know he's a solid cog, a backup center back that's not at a high cap number. Those are the guys to look at in this first round. And then looking ahead to next Friday, that's when you'll start to see those veterans go. You mentioned Julian de Guzman. I think we might want to start thinking as though he will not be back in MLS. Talking to Shellis Heineman yesterday on Extra Time Radio, he said, look, there's some family issues at play here. Julian has 2 children back in Germany. I think he wants to be over in Europe. So those are things that teams have to think about. But all in all, I think we'll see a pretty quiet round 1 here today.
De Guzman, Hartman, Califf, Wynn, Connor Casey also on this list. You can catch the complete list on MLSsoccer.com. Well, it's College Cup weekend down in Birmingham, Alabama. We've got you covered on MLSsoccer.com. The Final Four as it stands now. Maryland versus Georgetown in sort of a Beltway classic there, and then Creighton versus Indiana. Some traditional powers there, and then Georgetown's in the mix this time. That's a first time in the College Cup for them. Daniel Robertson, our college reporter, takes Indiana over Creighton and Maryland handily over Georgetown. The Terps really are the favorite.
Yeah, and I think I have to go with the same thing. We've seen throughout this tournament that these two teams have shown why they're the cream of the crop in college soccer. Indiana with Eric Zavaleta, a great forward, a great MLS prospect. You'd have to expect him to shine on this stage. And then, of course, Maryland, they just produce MLS players as a rule. Of course, Graham Zusi and Omar Gonzalez, too, that you probably know from there. London Woodbury won, a senior defender. He's an FC Dallas Academy product. Talked to Shellis Heineman about him on the show as well yesterday, but I think they get the job done. Those two go on to face in the final. And if I was a betting man, Maryland it is.
There you go. All the coverage is on ESPNU beginning on Friday night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. You mentioned Shellis Heineman joined us on the latest edition of Extra Time Radio. Talk about that new deal for George John, why Kevin Hartman's not coming back to FC Dallas. You can log on to Buzzsprout and iTunes and Stitcher Radio to catch the latest edition of the show. That does it for us. We'll get out of here. We'll see you on Monday.